Young Buck, I've been through the same situation you've been through, bro. Whether your situation is true or false, I've been through kind of the same situation you've been through. Got arrested back in 2011 for some illegal activity of being involved with a man. Got arrested again in 2013 for the same activity. Now, you didn't get arrested or whatever the case is. Your situation is different, but it's still involving a transsexual woman. But what I want to tell you, young buck, is, man, whether your situation is true or not, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to kind of give you a little bit of guidance of what I think you need to do. Because when I went through my situation back in 2011 and 2013, I had a lot of people giving me advice, but I didn't have nobody that went through what I went through giving me advice. So it was very difficult to try to get advice from somebody trying to tell me what to do when they're not going through what I was going through. So being that I went through what you went through, I want to give you some advice. First and foremost, bro, don't block your Instagram. Your Instagram wasn't blocked before. Don't block the Instagram. Now, everybody deals with trials and tribulations differently. I'm telling you, don't block your Instagram. You had an open page before everything went down. Don't block the Instagram. When I went through everything, I never blocked my Instagram. I let the comments come through. Whatever people wanted to say about me, good, bad, and ugly, I let the comments come through. If it got too outrageous where somebody said something super disrespectful, of course they got blocked. But I never blocked my Instagram. I stood tall through all the adversity, good, bad, and ugly. So don't block the Instagram. And whether this situation with you is true, deal with it in your own way. Like I said earlier, I had people at that time when I went through what I went through in 2011 and 2013 trying to tell me what to do. But I had to deal with it in my own way. When I was finally ready to tell the truth about myself and who I am and my activities as a man, what I was doing in 2013, when I had to tell the truth, that was me being ready to do so. So it's going to be so many people that's going to come at you to try to tell you different things. Do things at your own pace.
Alright, so that was basically Mister Cee giving Young Buck. I could be childish. I could say Young Buck. I could say Young Buckaroo. I could say Buck Nasty, whatever. But that was Mister Cee giving advice. And he took the video down because, of course, 50 clowned him. But Young Buck is just, I grew up on G Unit. I'm a huge fan, and Buck is probably one of my favorite Southern rappers. But the worst thing he did when he got caught up in this whole tranny shit, the last thing he shouldn't have done is what he did. He responded. You're not the first nigga to get outed in the game, and you probably won't be the last, but you can't entertain it. He entertained it and was going on Instagram for mad 2-3 weeks in a row. I ain't gay, I ain't this, I ain't that. I'm like, bro, you're making yourself look guilty. Like, just ignore it and don't say anything. 50 was doing him a favor by not saying anything. So not only is Buck saying this and that, making himself look guilty, but then he wants to start a war with his boss, who's got all his resources and all his money and all his pettiness. I'm like, you not really at a good space right now to be beefing with anybody, let alone 50. So now Buck is at like a crossroads, and it's sad because a year ago he was doing really good. He was sober. Dr. Dre was gonna produce his next album. Buck was on fire. Buck was doing his thing. You know, he was putting mixtapes out like every week. And wow, a year later, and it's like his whole world then crashed down. And it's like all he had to do was ignore the noise and just kept his mouth shut. Now you got this whole thing with him and Fifth, and that just makes everything worse. And then the tranny is doing interviews, getting her little 15 seconds of fame, and it's like, he entertained it. It's bad enough you got evidence, but you got caught. There's multiple clips of him talking on the phone with this tranny. Like, why are you talking on the phone with a tranny if it's not true? How did you get her number? But he should have just never said anything, and I think he would have been fine. Bobby Valentino got caught running out of the house in his drawers. What did he do? He disappeared. No one even gives a fuck. It's 2019, but if he just would have just not say anything, I think he would have been okay. But he made it worse than what it is, and now, he's really in a bad space, and you could tell he's back on drugs, and you could tell he's doing bad coke. You know that he's on bad coke. You look at his rants, his videos, how emotional he is. His voice is cracking up. His eyes is all boggy. I'm like, yeah, that's bad coke every day. That's 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. That's bad coke. And one of the first uh, signs of bad coke is delusion. When you're completely oblivious to reality, he is oblivious. He thinks 50 owe him money. He thinks everyone thinks he's gay and he's lying, and he's really thinking, oh, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. It's like, Buck, the evidence is there, bro. The proof is in the pudding. No Bill Cosby. The proof is in the pudding. You know, just shut the fuck up and drop your albums, your mixtapes, and just leave it alone. Now, Mister Cee is Mister Cee. It's a little different for a DJ because the DJs aren't what they was back in the day. You know, a lot of people, Mister Cee still does parties, and he did Havoc's birthday party the other day in New York, but it's different when you're a rapper because you're really in the limelight. More people pay attention to you, so, but I don't know. I mean, people gonna get their jokes off regardless, but because I remember when Mister Cee kept getting caught with those trannies, and he was doing the same thing Buck was doing, lying about it, and it's not true, and you could tell he was bullshitting. You could hear it in his voice. But eventually, Mister Cee had to man up, and Buck doesn't have to come out the closet and say anything. It's already out there. But he just should have shut his mouth and just let it flow, let it whatever, and just let it phase out. You know, Dwight Howard got caught up. You know what Dwight Howard did? He didn't say shit, and it's been like 6 months, and nobody's even talking about it no more. Nobody gives a fuck. You know, Buck just handled it the wrong way. And I'm ashamed, not because of his sexuality, whatever, but I'm more ashamed as a fan because I think his career could be possibly over. And I'm a fan. I bought Buck's first album, second album. I listened to the mixtapes. You know, I thought Buck was always right up there with T.I., Gucci, Luda, that whole early, mid-2000s South, you know, Southern shit that was going on. But, you know, it is what it is, man. But he got to put that bad coke down, and he got to make some better decisions because that's always been his downfall. Young Buck is his personal choices always come back to haunt him. It's not his ambition. It's not his music. It's not his laziness because he's far from lazy. Out of the whole crew, he's definitely the go-getter outside of 50, but he just always do some silly fool shit. Some, you know what I'm saying? Just some stupid shit. Every time shit get going good, you can always depend on Buck to just do some wild shit and just set himself back. You know, take one step forward, he take 5 steps back. You know how it is, but I mean, you know what y'all think about this shit, because, you know, they was giving Mister Cee the fucking jokes. They was getting on Mister Cee, but Mister Cee, you know, it took him a long time to embrace that, but Mister Cee is, you know, he handling the jokes. He was even going back and forth. People was like, yo, Biggie rolling in his grave, and Mr. Cee was like, no, he not, you know. But yeah, let me know what y'all think, man. Like and subscribe. I'm out.